Hello, my name is Emily Honeycutt. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm a cellist, massage therapist, and Alexander technique teacher. I started playing music when I was really young. When I was about 6, I started cello lessons. And I really wanted to play the cello, and I was very dedicated to learning and practicing, and so I practiced daily for most of my younger years, and I played in orchestras, I played in chamber groups, and part of me really loved it, and part of me felt a lot of um, a reward from playing music. And part of me was really shut down and anxious um, in my experience as a musician. I have memories of sitting um, in a practice room, or sitting with in an orchestra setting, and just like feeling like I wasn't good enough, feeling just shame, feeling uncomfortable, feeling trapped. I remember, uh, yeah, just these feelings of trying to get things perfect and really just not being able to, or getting them perfect, but maybe at the cost to my physical and mental health and well-being. Um, so that continued for a lot of years, and I still kept with it because I because of all of my dedication and practice and willpower, I became a good cellist. And I really got a lot out of the feedback that I was getting from people about how skillful I was. And so fast forward to college, and taking the Alexander technique class. This was one of the first times that I felt really embodied, able to just sort of settle into my body, into myself, to take a pause from the busyness of achieving, the busyness of going to school, learning all of these things. I was able to just pause and rest and start to come home to myself, and um, start feeling safe in a context, in a classroom context. So it was one of my first experiences of being in a space that was not evaluative. So I wasn't afraid of getting things right. I wasn't afraid to ask questions. Um, this was really a space for me to explore myself non-judgmentally, and that was huge for me at that time in my life. Um, so that was the first experience that I had with um, feeling that way, and it gave me this taste of something that I wanted to continue to understand and cultivate in my life. And now, I'm 32, and I just completed an Alexander Technique teacher training course. So it's taken me a lot of years to be able to really pursue the dream I had of cultivating that practice and that way of being in my life. But I'm really grateful that now I'm practicing as an Alexander Technique teacher, and I'm learning the sort of mechanism of why did I feel this sense of anxiety and fear along with my music playing when I was younger, and what can I do now to feel safe, feel engaged, and work with music as a way to connect with people, as a way to feel connected, feel joy, feel like like safe to experience being a human with other human beings. And that leads me to, more recently, I've been studying about the Polyvagal Theory. So this is a theory created by Dr. Stephen Porges, who is, he works at Indiana University and at the Kinsey Institute, doing research on trauma, is a big part of it. But he created this theory, this map of the nervous system that's really, set off a lot of lights for me and has led me into understanding my life in a different way. Has led me to really embracing the power of music in a new way. And part of his theory is that there are these different states that we can exist in our nervous system, and that these nervous system states, these physiological states, can affect our emotional life and our perceptions of our environments, of our relationships, of our internal body. And so these states are, the familiar ones that I'm sure most of you have heard of: fight or flight, rest and digest. So fight or flight is the sympathetic system, and rest and digest is the vagal system. So Stephen Porges discovered that there are actually two different vagal states. So there's ventral vagal, which is the social engagement system. So when we feel safe and able to relate to other people in this free and easy way, when our bodies feel safe and at home, when our minds feel safe and at home to be creative, to be, to express, and feel safe to do that. So there's this ventral vagal state. The other vagal state is the dorsal vagal state. So that state is one in which we feel shut down, disassociated. So we have, these three main states. We have the fight or flight, the sympathetic chain of the nervous system. The sympathetic can also come online with the ventral vagal state, so the social engagement state. So if you have a combination between spinal sympathetic and ventral vagal, you have the mobilization of the spinal sympathetic chain, but you also feel safe. So this state manifests as playfulness, as in music, being able to play, actively play, be mobilized and engaged, and play music with a group of people, with an orchestra, with a chamber group. And then just the spinal sympathetic state is mobilized with fear. So that's when we feel like we want to run away or we want to fight. There's the dorsal vagal state, where we want to shut down, disassociate. So that, in combination with the ventral vagal state, actually creates this sense of safety where we can rest, where we can be intimate with other people, cuddle. So this way of looking, this map of looking at the nervous system, gives us, it's a broader, fuller picture of nervous system states. It also gives hope for people to move into ventral vagal state. So you can simply extend your exhale So if I'm talking, I can talk for longer in an exhale, and that can actually activate the ventral vagal state. So this discovery, to link it back to my experience as a musician, um, this discovery has enabled me to understand why um, I felt the sense of anxiety and fear when I was a younger musician, and it had a lot to do with how evaluative our educational system is, specifically, and classical music too. Just how evaluative that is, and my personal nervous system interpreted that evaluation, that environment of evaluation, as a threat. So I was constantly, in this sense of feeling threatened, that I wasn't doing something right, that I was constantly being judged. And that's huge to discover, and to be able to say, okay, that's what was going on. I was feeling threatened in my, in the educational environment that I was in. And now with that discovery, I can say, okay, what can I do now to get myself into a ventral vagal state, to identify when I start to feel threatened by an evaluative environment, and how can I shift back into a ventral vagal state where I can even start to influence the people that I'm playing music with, the people that I'm in an environment with, where I start to feel safe and social. And so it's no longer about evaluating each other, evaluating myself. It's now about co-regulating, which is another term from the polyvagal theory. It's now about um, connecting and relating to other people. So that is a kind of brief story of my journey with music and the Alexander technique and the polyvagal theory.